Starting off the list at number 10 is they are told what to wear. It's common for a studio to pick out the clothes of their young stars to wear on screen as they design stuff specifically for their character. However, sometimes this practice goes a little too far. Some studios require the actor to keep their image the same when they are outside of the show or movie. Many young actors have a stylist from the show who works alongside them for any other appearances and stuff so that their image always remains the way that they want it to. This might seem like a pretty sweet gig to some people, but the problem is that you are styled the way they want you to be styled, not the way that you might want to be. It even goes as far as nail polish. It has been said that Disney would require their female stars to keep their nails plain and short. They weren't allowed to have nail art or experience with different colors unless the show approved it for their character. Basically, your entire outside appearance is under their control. Miley Cyrus opened up about it to Marie Claire and said, "From the time I was 11, it was, you're a pop star. That means you have to be blonde and you have to have long hair and you have to put on some glittery tight thing. Meanwhile, I am this fragile little girl playing a 16-year-old in a wig and ton of makeup. It was like toddlers and tiaras." I guess from the outside looking in, that lifestyle doesn't seem all that bad. But this is interesting. I feel like I've dreamt of a life like that. But then when you put it like this, not so fun. Coming into number 9 is Mara Wilson. She is best remembered for playing Matilda in the 1996 film titled after her character. Kids were quick to fall in love with her character and the magical powers that came with it. In fact, we are still talking about Matilda to this day. Earlier this year, there was a trending game called the Matilda Challenge, which had people making videos of them dancing around the room and pretending to make objects move. Just like her iconic scene from the movie, which I totally loved. The challenge went viral and Marley even reacted to them.
I'm glad they get it.
Matilda challenge! Oh, Matilda! Matilda!
I love that they know it! I'm amazed that there were several of them who just got it right away without knowing.
But regardless of how fun her character was, Marla would disagree, which is why she quit the business just a few years after the movie brought her fame. In one of her blogs in 2012, she wrote, "Here's something no real celebrity will ever tell you. Film acting is not very fun." Well then, after leaving Hollywood, she went on to live a normal life and found a passion for writing. In 2013, she was asked if she would return to acting, and her response was, "No, I don't think so. I do act sometimes in friends' projects, but when I do, it's just for fun. It is actually a hobby for me now." We haven't seen her on the big screen in a long time, but she continues to work on screenplays and novels. Coming in at number 8 is their social media posts require permission. Both Instagram and Twitter have a rule that you have to be 13 years old to have an account with them. With the new regulations, Twitter cannot legally keep content that was posted by a user when they were younger than the age of 13. This is why you will often see in a child star's social media bio, it says, "Account run by my mom," and then they tag their parent, etc. They have to have their account overlooked by a guardian in order to get approved to have an account younger than 13 years old. But on top of that, a company like Disney makes their child actors get permission from someone in the Disney management system to approve their posts. They do this so that no leaked information gets out and also to keep their image in tip-top shape. This goes for adults too sometimes. Mike Myers and Cameron Diaz actually had to sign a contract saying that they would not post or say anything about their characters in the movie Shrek 2 without permission by Disney. Imagine being an adult and having to get permission to post. So weird. For the most part though, it's more of a confidential issue, but part of it has to do with the overall image of the company. At number 7 is Jeff Cohen. The child star was famously known for his role as Chunk in The Goonies, which is one hell of a classic movie. The movie came out in 1985 and he continued his acting career up until 1991, so if you do the math, that is a total of 6 years. Not very long. He's been asked on numerous occasions why he left the industry. He cracks jokes saying that puberty forced him into early retirement as a child actor. He explains that as he got older, finding work was a lot more difficult. The roles were different and the competition increased as he got more involved in the industry. But once acting was out of the picture, he found a passion for law and attended the University of California, Berkeley, earning a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. He had no problem leaving the world of Hollywood behind. He ended up becoming a lawyer, and in 2008 he was named one of the top 35 executives under 35 years of age. So he's a successful one at that. He says that acting has benefited his legal career because it makes him more empathetic for his clients and less academic. Basically meaning that he can show more emotions. I feel that. Which brings us to number 6, the famous Disney morality clause. We have talked about the squeaky clean innocent image that child actors have to uphold when working with a network like Disney. But they are so strict about it, they actually have a morality clause within their contract that the actors have to sign. It pretty much means that they can be dropped from the network if they get caught up in a scandal that would bring the Disney name into a negative light. A prime example of this is when Vanessa Vanessa Hudgens had nudes leaked online, and the network had to decide if they were going to let her go or not. They weighed out the pros and cons of each option and knew that it would do more damage if they removed her from the High School Musical franchise. Apparently they had her in the Disney offices for a whole day because they were trying to figure out how to keep her on lockdown, because the world literally went ape crazy. The morality clause was so important to them that Bella Thorne once admitted that she was told to get rid of her husky voice when working with the network, so during press interviews for the show, she would give off a higher pitched voice. Disney apparently told her that this would help create the good girl image that they were going for. Halfway through the list, at number 5 is Peter Ostrom. You might remember him as Charlie Bucket from the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie back in 1971. He was only 12 years old when he got selected to play the role, and although he enjoyed working on it, he decided not to sign a 3-film contract once the movie was over. He returned home after filming the movie and just never felt the desire to go back, continue to pursue his acting career. He says being at home sparked an interest in horses and he wanted to become a veterinarian one day instead. He ended up going to Cornell University College of Veterinary Medicine in 1984 to receive his certificate. Later on in 2005, he moved to New York with his wife and 2 children, and as of 2018, he works out of the Countryside Veterinarian Clinic. As for acting, he says that he wanted to live a normal life and had declined reporters and interviews for a very long period of time. He explained, saying, "I wanted people to judge me on who I was, not what I'd done." He even said that sometimes in his childhood he lied and told people that it was his brother in the movie, not him. I wonder how many people actually fell for that and believed him. Here we are at number 4 with a network can own your acting career. What does this exactly mean? Turns out that when a child actor is working with a network and has a contract with them, the network can actually prevent them from booking other jobs. There are some actors who have worked on multiple projects at a time, but most child actors are held back. Networks like Disney and Nickelodeon are known for this because they only want their actors associated with their network. As long as their TV show is going on, they can block their talent from accepting an offer for something else. Even if the show isn't in production but is signed up for another season, they can withhold them from some of their projects. This is why we saw Selena Gomez booking a job like Spring Breakers once her Disney contract was officially up. Turns out Disney doesn't really care what you have to say about things either. We only know this because recently Dylan Sprouse from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody opened up to Vulture and said, I quote, "I don't think Disney Channel was willing to work with us, really, ever, so we stopped the show." He and his twin brother Cole left the network when they were 18 years old, their contract was up and they no longer wanted to work with them. Coming into our number 3 spot is Jake Lloyd. The child star had a good career going after starring in 4 episodes of ER back in 1996, but his breakthrough role was playing Anakin Skywalker in the 1999 Star Wars The Phantom Menace. The 8-year-old had some big shoes to fill at such a young age because we all know how crazy and passionate Star Wars fans are. He had to play this sweet innocent kid but also show a dark side that would be convincing enough for him to grow up to become Darth Vader. After his first Star Wars appearance, he reprised his role as Anakin's voice for 5 video games, but Jake stopped his acting career by the time he was 12 years old. His life took a turn down a dark path and he was arrested in 2015 for reckless driving after a high-speed car chase. He was charged with reckless driving, failure to stop, resisting arrest, and driving without a license. In 2016, TMZ reported that he was transferred from jail to a psychiatric facility after a diagnosis of schizophrenia. When speaking with the Daily Telegraph, he spoke about his Star Wars days, saying that kids bullied him at school because of it, so he ended up destroying any memories he actually had from the filming experience. This one wasn't really a happy ending. In spot number 2 is required media training. Being associated with a big network as a child actor will require you to handle the media. A huge chunk of your time is being spent in the spotlight, which just comes with the job. This means tons of press and tons of interviews, and for a kid that can be a lot to handle. But some networks like Disney are more concerned with their image, so they put their actors through media training as soon as they get added to a movie or TV show. It's been reported that they teach their actors to play dumb whenever a tough question comes up. The Jonas Brothers spoke about it, saying that they were constantly pressured to keep their Disney image clean when doing press for the channel. They said, I quote, "They teach you how to change the subject. Whenever you are asked an uncomfortable question, playing dumb is the best way to get out of anything." They also admitted that when doing interviews all together, because they were a group, they strategically divided the interviews by subject. Nick took the serious questions, Kevin took the lighthearted ones, and Nick and Joe answered anything that had to do with their songwriting. Turns out this even went as far as having autograph training. Disney provides autograph training to their talent who need to sharpen their penmanship. They would actually approve their autograph beforehand. Taking the number 1 place on our list is Macaulay Culkin. Every kid in the world knows him as the kid from Home Alone. He will always hold a place in our hearts for playing Kevin McAllister in those classic Christmas movies. And although he's mainly known for that series, he also appeared in 8 other feature films between the years 1990 to 1994. The kid was a huge star. He went on to make a guest appearance on the NBC sitcom Will and Grace and starred in the movie Party Monster. Many would say his acting career was solid from there on out, but then, which felt like kind of out of nowhere, he quit acting. He wanted to live a normal life and ended up moving to Paris, where he spends most of his time writing, painting, and working on a podcast called Bunny Ears with his friend Matt Cohen. After going MIA for many years, he has now made his way back into the limelight to share his story, but he hasn't really came for all the fame part of it. He's actually thrilled when people don't recognize him or bring up the Home Alone movies. He told The Blast, "I was going to Paris for a little while and I thought people didn't recognize me. But then it was like, no, we recognize you, we just don't care." And I was like, where have you been my whole life? I think we're so used to seeing celebrities in the spotlight that it's hard to believe that some don't actually enjoy it. Starting off our list at number 10 is Danny Lloyd. For decades, people have been wondering whatever happened to the kid from the iconic horror movie The Shining. Like legit, horror fans have actually asked the author, Stephen King, where the kid went. Turns out he left the Hollywood glitz and glam to become a pig farmer and a science teacher. No, this is not a joke. Danny was only 5 years old at the time when he took on the role as Danny Torrance in the 1980 classic and reached fame almost instantly. But he didn't seem to want it. He is now in his 40s and is happily married with 6 children. In 2013, he did his first interview since he was a kid with Daily News, where he opened up about his now normal life. He said that people don't recognize him when he goes out in public, and he loves that. He explained that he did continue acting after The Shining, but ended up giving up when he was a teenager because it was just too difficult. He said, "We kept trying for several years until I was in high school, and I stopped at about 14 with almost no success." Danny says he enjoyed being in the movie, but went on to work at a local Walmart after, and then drove a tractor on a hog farm. Now he is teaching biology at a community college outside of Louisville. Fans were hoping to see him reprise his role for the upcoming sequel, Dr. Sleep, but sadly he is sitting this one out. Up next, number 9 is Disney can legally own the rights to their names. What? A particular example is when Miley Cyrus got hired for her role on the show Hannah Montana. She was playing the pop star Hannah, but also herself, a regular girl going to school and living that double life. Apparently, when she first got hired, her character's name was actually Kylie Stewart. It was the first day of filming that the producers allowed her to use her real name for the show, which is why you saw her play Miley Stewart all those years. Cyrus says that her and her family were thrilled to be able to use her real name, but that's because they didn't realize that Disney could own all of the rights to her name. Disney owned the name Miley, not her. It became a huge issue when they started to use her name for CDs while working on the show, because they could technically have some rights to her name in her music career. Good news is, Miley's mom Tish Cyrus was savvy enough to hire a lawyer right away to make sure that they had legal guidance and the rights throughout her music career. Disney will forever own the name Miley Stewart in all of her work connected to the Hannah Montana show, including some songs, but she has the rights to her own name now. Lesson learned. Swiping the number 8 spot is Shirley Temple. She began acting at the young age of 3 and became Hollywood's biggest box office child star in the 30s. I mean, who hasn't heard of Shirley Temple? I'm pretty sure we were all sick of her song Animal Crackers in My Soup after singing it every time that we had a bowl of soup as a kid. Or maybe that was just me. By the time she was 12, she starred in 43 movies and tons of commercials. But by the time she was 22 years old, she decided she wanted to retire from acting. She ended up changing her career path entirely and ran for Congress in 1967. She lost, but then 2 years later, she was appointed to represent the US at the United Nations. She then became the US ambassador to Ghana from 1974 to 1976. Who would have thought the Animal Cracker Girl would end up in politics? Sadly, she did pass away in 2014 at the age of 85, but her memory lives on forever. In Hollywood and in politics. Talk about a life full of achievements there. Sliding into number 7 is Purity. Guys, I don't think we could ever forget when the Jonas Brothers had those Purity rings. I literally went out and bought one just to match Nick, thinking that we would end up together one day. That clearly did not happen. At the time, the guys said they were wearing the rings to show that they would keep themselves pure until they met and married the love of their lives. The boys have since opened up and said that they felt the pressure from the network to uphold this act of purity throughout their career with them. The purity went beyond the rings though. They weren't allowed to have lyrics that would suggest suggest anything unpure. Joe Jonas opened up to Hollywood Reporter in 2013 and said, I quote, "If a lyric was slightly sexual, someone at the record company would tell us we had to change it. It could be the most innocent reference like, I'm alone in a room with you, and it would have to go. It felt like we couldn't be creative." Nick backed him up on this and once said that he never had a, I quote, "full understanding on why he had to wear the ring at the time. He said he did it simply because it was the requirement of his bosses." And don't think for a second that this was just the male child actors. Females are required to keep the same image of purity. Miley Cyrus recently shared a post on Instagram sharing that she got kicked off of Hotel Transylvania after she bought her boyfriend Liam Hemsworth a penis cake for his birthday. Now in most cases, what we do outside of our job isn't really anyone's business, but for young actors it is a whole different story. Here we are at number 6 with Kay Panabaker. She made her on-screen debut when she was 12 years old. She first became popular after taking on the role as Nikki in the Summerland TV series and then later on as Jenny in the 2009 Fame movie remake. She also starred alongside her sister Danielle Panabaker for a few Disney Channel shows and movies. But throughout her time filming, she was also going through school and trying to do advanced courses. She actually graduated from high school at the age of 13, so she was one smart little cookie, which might be why she decided to leave her acting career and go to school full time. She ended up going to the UCLA and studied zoology. From there, she got her dream job as an animal keeper at Disney's Animal Kingdom. The now 29-year-old has said that she doesn't regret her decision and loves what she's doing now. I mean, that's a pretty sweet gig. Halfway through the list at number 5 is working long hours. Child actors are only allowed to work between the hours of 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. on school days, and when school is out, the hours stretch from 5 a.m. to 12:30 a.m. It all depends on their age for how many hours a day they are legally allowed to work on a set. Some child actors don't have to go to school and have a licensed school teacher come to the set to teach them, which makes their working days even longer. Miley Cyrus was only 11 years old at the time she booked her lead role in Hannah Montana. She opened up about her experience as a child actor to The Wrap and said she was working 12-hour days. It got to a point where her mom actually brought in lights for seasonal affective disorder because she literally didn't get to spend any time outside. She even admitted to drinking coffee at a really young age. She said, "Every morning I was getting coffee jammed down my throat to wake me up. I just had to keep going, be tough, and be strong." That is crazy, man. My mom wouldn't even let me drink coffee until I was like 16. I wasn't even allowed to like try a sip of it. Not even tea. Next up at number 4 is Ariana Richard. She will forever be remembered for her role as Lex Murphy in the 1993 Jurassic Park. She was only 14 years old when she booked the role. She just so happened to be one of the grandchildren of Jurassic Park's creator. Talk about having some connections. She actually started her acting career 6 years before Jurassic Park, but it was the one role that put her name on the map. Basically, it was her big break. After that, she appeared in multiple movies and also had a cameo appearance in The Lost World Jurassic Park. But she decided that her last on-screen appearance would be in 2001 as she sparked a new interest for painting. She went on to graduate from Skidmore College and she now runs her own art gallery. The artist is now 40 years old and is married to Mark Bolton, who she shares a daughter with. Alright guys, at number 3 is you cannot have a beard. Depending on the network, that is. It is common that an actor will play someone younger than their actual age, and like every other human, you cannot control when puberty hits. Some young actors grow a beard at an early age, but because of their character, they are required to shave it off. And not just like once a week. They have to shave pretty much daily as long as they're working on the show and playing a young character on camera. Both Joe Jonas and Zac Efron have openly expressed that having to shave every day was incredibly annoying for them throughout their teenage filming years. Not only did they have to shave while on set, but they also had to do it when doing any kind of press or promotional work for their movie or show because they had to remain with their character's young image. Joe Jonas told The Hollywood Reporter, "I had to shave every day because they wanted me to pretend like I was 16 when I was actually 20. When the show was done, I cut my hair off and grew as much of a beard as I could." That must have felt so good for him, although I really liked his long hair. In spot number 2 is Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. Twins are a 2-for-1 deal, so they are taking one spot on this list. The twins were infants when they stole hearts playing Michelle Tanner on the hit TV series Full House back in 1987. They were 9 years old when the series ended, so basically their entire childhood from birth was on a film set. From there, they started their own brand simply by being the Olsen twins, where they made a collection of Mary-Kate and Ashley movies. I have all of them on DVD. They also had their own TV shows called So Little Time and Two of a Kind, but their last on-screen performance performance together was back in 2004, where they did their first theatrical release movie, New York Minute. These two were wildly famous. They were actually billionaires by the time that they were teenagers, owning their own clothing line on top of all their film success. But they didn't want that to last forever. They announced in 2012 that they officially retired from acting and now focus on their fashion line called Elizabeth and James. They still remain in the public eye to an extent in the fashion world, but they keep their life very low key. We barely hear or see anything about them anymore. Taking our number 1 spot is showing skin is a sin. Not allowed under any circumstances. One child was actually almost fired from the Disney network for a simple social media picture. Back in 2011, Bella Thorne was just 13 years old and smiled for a camera on a beach wearing a black bikini that her own mother bought her. Bella told the story during an interview and said that Disney threatened to fire her over this due to the morality clause, saying it was too risque for a young actor. They decided to give her another chance, but often had control over how she kept her prim and proper image. She wasn't the only one who had issues with this though. All of the girls on the network often had to wear a one-piece bathing suit or a high-waisted version of the bikini, which was always a very big controversy because the boys were allowed to be shirtless on camera in some of their scenes. I didn't mind when Zac Efron was though. But the girls' wardrobe was always very conservative. Reports have been made that Disney required some girls to even bind their chests if they developed too early. It started years ago on the original Mickey Mouse Club. Annette Funicello developed early than the other girls on the show and she was forced to bind her chest. It's continued to be an issue over the years and often you will see young actors wearing baggy clothes or sweatshirts to cover up their female developments. That's pretty messed up.
Coming in at 10, Jodie Foster, The Doris Day Show. Jodie Foster is a legendary Hollywood actress who has received 2 Academy Awards throughout her career. She is best known for starring in films such as The Silence of the Lambs, Nell, Panic Room, Inside Man, and The Beaver. However, prior to all of these movies, Jodie started out as a child actor way back in the 1970s, when she appeared in Tom Sawyer, Napoleon and Samantha, Taxi Driver, and Freaky Friday. Outside of film, Jodie had quite the personal life, some parts quite terrifying. During her freshman year at Yale in 1980 to 81, Foster was stalked by John W. Hinckley Jr., who had developed an obsession with the actress after seeing her in Taxi Driver. He moved to New Haven and tried to contact her both through phone and letters. On March 30th, 1981, Hinckley attempted to assassinate US President Ronald Reagan, wounding him and 3 other people in the process. This of course put Foster in the public eye, forcing her to be accompanied by bodyguards while walking around campus. The incident was incredibly difficult for Foster, who rarely comments on it, but she did write an essay titled Why Me?, which was published in 1982 by Esquire magazine on the condition that there be no cover lines, no publicity, and no photos. As it stands, Foster has transitioned into directing episodes of Orange is the New Black, House of Cards, and Black Mirror. In at 9, Jake Lloyd, Star Wars The Phantom Menace. Jake Lloyd, also known as Jake Broadbent, is a former child actor famous for appearing in Star Wars The Phantom Menace as young Anakin Skywalker back in 1999. Lloyd received the Young Artist Award for Best Supporting Actor following the release. However, his performance was heavily criticized and was also nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Supporting Actor. Lloyd ultimately retired from acting back in 2001 due to bullying at school. As a result of this, he decided to no longer keep his Star Wars memorabilia. Back in 2012, the former child star announced that he was directing a documentary highlighting the Tibetan refugees in India who are attempting to escape persecution by the Chinese government. However, on June 17, 2015, Lloyd was arrested in South Carolina under the name Jake Broadbent for reckless driving, driving without a license, and resisting arrest. He was forced to serve 10 months in jail, after which time he was transferred from jail to a psychiatric facility after being diagnosed with schizophrenia. In at 8, Austin St. John, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Born Jason Geiger, but professionally known as Austin St. John, he is an actor best known for playing Jason Lee Scott, aka the Red Ranger in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which debuted back in 1993. Now, although the series was hugely successful and garnered the actor international recognition, the long hours and low pay presented challenges for him, resulting in himself and a few other actors leaving the show during its 2nd season. However, he did go on to reprise his role several times over in an episode of Power Rangers Wild Force and in the Power Rangers special, The Lost Episode. It has also been announced that St. John will reprise the role in a special team-up episode for Season 2 of Power Rangers Beast Morphers in 2020. However, outside of acting, St. John began as a martial artist, holding a 2nd degree black belt in Taekwondo and a 1st degree degree black belt in judo. Additionally, he published a book on the subject titled Karate Warrior: A Beginner's Guide to Martial Arts, which was released back in 1996. Looks-wise, St. John looks a whole lot different than he did when he was a Power Ranger, filling out and losing hair, but still, the resemblance is there. In at 7, Jason David Frank, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Jason David Frank is an actor and professional mixed martial artist primarily known as playing Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger, in the Power Rangers franchise alongside our previous number. Frank was an iconic Green Ranger appearing for 3 seasons in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers before transitioning into Power Rangers Zeo. He also expressed a lot of interest in developing a Green Ranger solo series or feature film after an encounter with Stan Lee at a comic book convention. Outside of acting though, Frank is an MMA fighter, announcing on August 21st, 2009 that he would be signing with Sucker Punch Entertainment, a sports marketing and management company specializing in MMA. Now, whether he has plans to ever return to the world of Power Rangers is unconfirmed, but here's hoping. But considering the actor is now covered completely in tattoos and looks a whole lot different than his former Green Ranger, I'm gonna go with no. In at 6, Melissa Joan Hart. Melissa Joan Hart hit the big leagues when she landed the titular role in the sitcom Clarissa Explains It All from 1991 to 1994, before going on to star as Sabrina in Sabrina the Teenage Witch, another hugely successful show which ran from 1996 to 2003. However, after Sabrina ended, her career opportunities began to dwindle. The actress directed her first movie, a 15-minute live-action short film called Mute, starring her sister Emily, before going on to guest star on an episode of Law & Order SVU back in 2007. In 2009, she competed in season 9 of Dancing with the Stars before going on to star in a horror thriller film entitled 9 Dead. Now, Hart does still appear on screen, but in nothing of merit, sadly, with Sabrina being the last successful role the actress had. Well, aside from the TV series Melissa and Joey, but that show was trash and you know it. The actress looks exactly the same as she did in Sabrina the Teenage Witch, except older. That's it. In at 5, Ross Hull, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Ross Hull first appeared on our screens back in 1987 when he began his acting career with the film Nowhere to Hide before landing the lead role of Gary, the creator of the Midnight Society, in Are You Afraid of the Dark, a series which ran from 1990 to 1996 with a second run from 1999 to 2000. He went on to appear in a handful of works such as Ready or Not and the iconic Canadian series Student Bodies. However, Hull took a different career path later down the line. In January 2005, Hull became a weather personality on Canada's The Weather Network after graduating from Mississippi State University with a degree in meteorology and a degree in radio and television arts from Ryerson University in Toronto. In early 2013, Hull appeared as the weather anchor for CBC Ottawa and CBC News Network before subsequently becoming the weather anchor for CBC Toronto. As it stands, Hull is a meteorologist working in Toronto, Montreal, Halifax and New Brunswick. Looks-wise, you definitely wouldn't recognize the former child star delivering you your morning weather update, that's for sure.
We're here now at number 4 and we have Barrett Oliver. Back in the 1980s, he was a very popular child star, mostly known for his role in the legendary movie The Never-Ending Story. One would think that his acting career would only go up from there, and it might have, but he decided to walk away from it all when he was just 16 years old. He ended up finding an interest in photography, so he ended up going to college to study it. He studied under an artist named Steven Berkman and 2 master photographers who introduced him to the unique 19th century technique of wet plate photography. From there, he created his own unique style and has spent the last decade giving lectures and hosting his own workshops around the country to promote his craft. Not only is he a photography teacher though, he also is an author. He published a book called A History of the Woodbury Type. Honestly, he probably has the most drastic change on this list if we're talking about just appearances. Like, I would never recognize him. Not a chance. In our 3rd spot is Hayley Mathers. Alright, so this one is an exception because she's technically not a child star. The only reason she's even famous is because Eminem is her dad. However, everyone knew who she was because he was always rapping about her in his lyrics, which also turned into music videos. Back in the 90s when he was still known as Slim Shady, he released the infamous song Hayley's Song. She was only 6 years old when the song was released in 2002. You would probably never recognize her now. She is now 24 years old and is known as an Instagram influencer. She is known as Haley Jade Scott online and has a whopping 1.8 million followers on Instagram at the time of this recording. When you look at her, I can totally tell she's related to Eminem, like you can see the resemblance. It's actually kind of weird to see her all grown up like this. Not gonna lie. She's beautiful though. Stealing the number 2 spot is Edward Furlong. Anyone who watched the Terminator film series would have recognized him as John Connor in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Things are going pretty good after his breakout role. He went on to star in a handful of blockbuster movies throughout the 90s like American Heart, Pecker, and American History X. But his career started to dry up when he started struggling with an addiction to drugs. Throughout the years, he's had a lot of legal battles for drug-related offenses. He has been open to media about it though, explaining he was hooked on heroin and cocaine, which has played a huge factor in his drastic appearance change. Good news is, in 2019, he made his return in the newest movie of the series, Terminator Dark Fate. So despite his appearance changes, he did make a comeback in this industry. We've made it to number 1 and we have Orlando Brown. He gained an instant fan base after starring on the famous Disney series That's So Raven for playing the hilarious Eddie Thomas. After That's So Raven, he went on to other acting projects and also got into the music industry. But over the past few years, he's been in trouble with the law and arrested for multiple different things. All of them including burglary, domestic battery, obstruction of justice, drug possession with intent to sell, and possession of contraband in jail. Oh yeah, he went to jail. He looks unrecognizable these days, showing off this really weird raven tattoo on his neck and also showing up to interviews with snake eye contact lenses. Currently he is 32 years old and is out of prison and says that he is going to make a big comeback and that we should all be prepared. I am ready and waiting. Kicking off our countdown at number 10 is Taylor Momsen. If you don't know who I'm talking about, she was Cindy Lou Who from The Grinch, the adorable little blonde who won over our hearts singing Where Are You Christmas at just 7 years old. She was far too cute not to be recognized as a child star. And then in her teens she became known for her role as Jenny on the Gossip Girl series. Overall, she's kept a very clean cut and innocent look, which is why you would never recognize her nowadays. In 2009, she completely changed her image when she became the lead singer of the band called The Pretty Reckless. Cindy Lou Who is now 26 years old and continues to kill it with the rock band, being their leading lady. Next up at number 9 is Haley Joel Osment, also known as the kid from The Sixth Sense. It's been over 20 years since the movie first scared its audiences all across the globe. The movie was iconic, and we'd be lying if we said a big part of that wasn't the young actor's performance. He was just 11 years old when he was cast to play Cole Spear, leaving us with the infamous phrase, I see dead people. Years after he delivered the iconic line, he continued to pursue his acting career with credits like Pay It Forward and The Country Bears. Overall, his acting career didn't quite land as many iconic lines as before, but he has been able to keep his own. The now 31-year-old is still booking roles wherever he can. His last one was in 2019 on the TV series The Kaminsky Method. Swiping the number 8 spot is Davy Chase. She's the actress who portrayed the scary girl from The Ring, Samara Morgan. The iconic horror movie blessed our screens back in 2002, and her character has gone on to be a classic Halloween costume or even a good old prank. The child star found her way into the spotlight with this movie, and it even won her the Best Villain Award at the 2003 MTV Movie Awards. She's always pursued an acting career, appearing on shows like HBO's Big Love. She also voiced Lilo in the 2002 Disney's movie Lilo and Stitch. She's now 29 years old and hasn't appeared in anything since 2018, but she does keep a pretty consistent following on her social media pages. So, if you want to creep her, go creep, because I did. She looks a lot different. In spot number 7 is Bug Hall. The child star hit the jackpot in 1994 when he was cast in his first ever feature film, The Little Rascals. The 9-year-old at the time took on the iconic role of Alfalfa. After he brought the love-struck boy to life, he went on to star in other 90s films like The Big Green, The Stupids, and Honey, We Shrunk the Kids. As he got older, he still continued to have a career making guest appearances on shows like The OC, 90210, and Criminal Minds. His real name isn't Bug though, it is actually Brandon, but he goes by Bug. In more recent years, he doesn't have too many credits to his name. He's now 34 years old, and I know what you ladies might be wondering. And yes, at the time of this recording, he is single. Might be ready to mingle. Moving along to number 6, we have Abigail Breslin. Some people would have first seen her in the 2002 horror movie Signs, but it wasn't until 2006 that she actually made a real name for herself. The 10-year-old actress at the time got her first feature film when she took on the lead role in Little Miss Sunshine. She was nominated for an Oscar for her performance. Since then, she has remained relevant in the industry and has built a successful career for herself. She appeared in a variety of movies like New Year's Eve and Zombieland Double Tap, and could also be seen in the TV series series Scream Queens. She's still pretty young, she is only 23 years old, so she has a long career ahead of her. Halfway through, at number 5 is Jonathan Lipnicki. It was back in 1996 when the spiky-haired cutie totally upstaged Tom Cruise and Renee Zellweger in the movie Jerry Maguire. He was only 6 years old when he took on the role, and from there, his career took off from that moment on. He took on lead roles in Stuart Little, Like Mike, Dr. Dolittle, and many more. But in more recent years, he's opened up about the anxiety and bullying that he faced when he was a young star. He said that he was always called a has-been, and he was told that he wouldn't book future roles. However, he was able to, and he continued to live out his dreams of being an actor. He's currently 29 years old and clearly likes to work out on his free time. That is what I've gathered from this research. Oh, and he's single, in case you're wondering.
Coming in at 4, Jake T. Austin, Wizards of Waverly Place. Jake T. Austin is a former child actor famous for starring alongside Selena Gomez in Wizards of Waverly Place and as the voice of Diego in Go Diego Go. Austin then went on to portray Jesus Foster on the ABC family The Fosters up until 2015. However, as it stands, Austin hasn't appeared in much of anything, with his last appearance coming in 2017 in Justice League Action, and prior to that he was on Dancing with the Stars, the show where everyone's careers die. However, in October 2018 it was announced that Austin would be joining the cast of Adverse, a neo-noir thriller starring Mickey Rourke, which is slated to hit theatres this year. Considering it seemed as though the actor was on the outs in Hollywood, this is great news for the young star who seems to be distancing himself from his former Disney roots. In at 3, Abigail Breslin, Little Miss Sunshine. Abigail Breslin first appeared on our screens when she was just 3 years old in Signs back in 2002, before going on to star in films such as Raising Helen, Little Miss Sunshine, No Reservations, Nim's Island, Definitely Maybe, and My Sister's Keeper. At just 10 years old, Breslin was one of the youngest actors ever to be nominated for an Academy Award, a recognition she received for Little Miss Sunshine. In 2017, Breslin went on to star in the remake of Dirty Dancing, a beloved classic that is incredibly hard to top. And of course the remake was pandas and unnecessary. It was complete. Since then, she hasn't appeared in anything much, but will be reprising her role as Little Rock in Zombieland Double Tap this year. If you look at her in Little Miss Sunshine and look at her now, you wouldn't believe they were the same people. In at 2, Dakota Fanning. Born Hannah Dakota Fanning, this actress is most popular for appearing in films such as Uptown Girls, The Cat in the Hat, Man on Fire, War of the Worlds, and Charlotte's Web. As the child star got older though, she began to transition into more mature roles, starring in The Secret Life of Bees, Coraline, The Runaways, and of course, The Twilight Saga. However, outside of acting, Fanning attended the Galveston School of Individualized Study at New York University, where she majored in women's studies with the focus on the portrayal of women in film and culture. However, she is now back in the world of film, recently appearing in Ocean's 8, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Now Is Good. The actress looks almost identical to her younger self, just more mature and with more teeth. And finally, in at number 1, Joshua Jackson, The Mighty Ducks. Joshua Jackson rose to fame when he starred as Charlie Conway alongside Emilio Estevez in The Mighty Ducks all the way back in 1992, where he played a young and aspiring hockey player. Following the franchise's success, Jackson went on to star as Pacey Witter on Dawson's Creek from 1998 to 2003, and while the show was on hiatus, he appeared in several movies including Cruel Intentions, The Skulls, The Laramie Project, and Ocean's 11. The actor is a rare breed, and unlike a lot of child stars, continued to find success with each new role. Between 2014 and 2018, Jackson was appearing in Showtime's The Affair as Cole Lockhart, and has made a handful of cameo appearances in shows like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt and When They See Us. The star is still going strong in TV, but doesn't seem to be doing much on the film front. Looks wise, you likely wouldn't realise Jackson was Charlie Conway in The Mighty Ducks unless you did your research. To be honest, that's still his greatest role. The Flying V. I still get chills.